Hello YouTube and all my friends of Swedish suspension and golden high-tech shocks. Interesting way to start off this video because of course if you know anything about motorcycles, you know Öhlins is one of the probably highest rated, or I guess most lusted after aftermarket and even OEM suspension manufacturer. And for a while I did have an Öhlins rear shock on this bike. But as you can see, that is no longer a gold spring, that's a teal spring. And I'm not sure how well you can see it, but that is a nitron rear shock. So as usual, the dangers of spending the Canadian winter trolling eBay and looking for things. This came up on eBay UK actually. It's never been mounted. It was their, I think this is Nitron's top of the market or top of the line shock, and originally sold for €9.99, and I got it for 999 Great Britain pounds, and I got it for 400. Of course, shipping was a bit more. But yeah, basically it's brand new, never been installed. Bought it off a private seller, so it wasn't from Nitron itself. And yeah, it was one of those deals where you know, too good to be true, can't pass it up. All the justification we use when we spend money on things like racing motorcycles. So it's a bit interesting in that it appears like it's installed upside down because this is the hose for the remote reservoir, but it is supposed to be flipped like this. As you can kind of see by the design, there's not a whole lot of room for a remote reservoir fitting anyway, and so it is mounted at the bottom. The rebound damping is here on the shaft. Compression damping is here, and I believe it has high and low speed compression too, because there's this little adjuster here, and then there's this wider adjuster here. I think you gotta look at the manual. Yeah, that's an adjuster as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of them's high speed, one of them's low speed. So I'll have to figure that out and sort out the manual. The only thing that might be a tad off is that the build sheet says it's for a 175 pound rider. I weigh 178 pounds, which is oh sorry, not 178. I'm dyslexic. 187 pounds. But that's bare arse in the morning on the scale. So when you add another 15 or 20 pounds with race gear, like a full race kit, I'm not sure the spring's too soft, but you know, I'll have to set it up and check sag and all that other sort of stuff. But I do tend to like things slightly on the soft side anyway, just simply because how bumpy the track is, or certainly on the Manitoba prairies, how bumpy the roads are. So the other thing I've learned too is that my manual, I believe, is from maybe a later model, like a 2010, 2011, maybe the 2012 Evo, and the whole process of removing the shock or servicing the rear suspension is entirely different. So it is not easy. Everything fits together so tight that for me, in order to remove the shock, the swing arm has to droop far enough, and so I've got some foot peg lifts here that I built myself years ago, but it has to droop so far that the bottom of the swing arm fouls on the collector here for the exhaust. So I actually have to pull that off too, which means pulling off these things, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. So anyway, I think there were some modifications done to make this whole process simpler if the manual's to be understood. But anyway, swapping out the shock is not a 2-minute project like you think it would be for a bike that was designed for racing purposes and that sort of thing. So anyway, it's on. I did the whole bounce test and you know, it's set up and ready to go. Part of the impetus for this is that the Öhlins shock that I originally found wasn't an aftermarket Öhlins. It was the OEM Öhlins. That's certainly better than the stock Showa shock or Sachs or Marzocchi, which have been fitted to various Ducatis, but it wasn't the proper aftermarket racing style Öhlins shock. And the lower, I think it's the rebound adjuster, there's simply no way to get at it. Ducati has, I don't know if you can see it right here. No, that's for the bolt. Again, I'm not sure you can see it here because of the lighting, but right above that chain link, there's this slot cut out with the idea that you're supposed to be able to slide a tool through there and adjust the rebound damping. And you would need, like, it just wouldn't work. Nothing lined up. You'd need a bunch of swivel fittings that would just make it an exercise in frustration. So on this one, high and low speed compression, rebound is up here. Be careful, you might burn your fingers. And of course preloads right here. So it's properly thought out and thinking a bit outside the box, again, to have, you know, the rebound adjuster, the shock basically flipped upside down. But it's a quality shock. If you know anything about Nitron, they're based out of the UK. I think they have a Japanese subsidiary, and again, a lot of them sponsor, you know, UK road riders and that sort of thing. So I think they know what they're doing. The other tricky piece was, of course, mounting this remote reservoir, and just by dumbass luck, the outer diameter of this, I believe, is about 45 millimeters. I had a 45 millimeter fork clamp. I can't remember what fork I ever had that was 45 millimeters, but anyway, it mounts there. This bracket here, maybe just temporary. I've got it just mounted to here. I might fabricate something out of aluminum, you know, that goes right there. There's enough clearance between the exhaust outlet here and the shock, and it vibrates a bit, but yeah, the whole idea of, you know, is, hose clamps and rubber bumpers and that sort of thing. When I had this bracket here, it really made a lot of sense. I suppose I could have mounted it going out this way as well. So who knows? I might adjust the design of this and come up with something different. But anyway, beautiful shock. Price couldn't be beat. Basically half price. Again, quick shipping, and I'm really happy with it. The other bonus is that I actually was able to sell the Öhlins shock for slightly more than I paid for it, which is a win, and of course takes a significant bite out of the cost of this thing. So anyway, the Öhlins decal you see up there will be removed, because, you know, you can't have decals for parts that you have on your bike, and of course neither Nitron nor Öhlins has paid me a nickel to to actually have these parts on my bike. So that's that. I'm sure I'll come up with a very witty pun using my English minor to good use, because I've got some shock updates on this one too. So I might have shown in a previous video on the TT680 that it's a Fox shock, but it needed a rebuild. So went to, unfortunately their sticker is covered up, Capital Motorsports in Winnipeg. If you live in Manitoba, or you live in the prairies, or you don't want to send your stuff to a shop in Ontario, give them a try. The folks there have some skills in terms of shock rebuild. So I've sent an Öhlins there. I've sent a WP shock there from my old RC8. Now a Fox, and yeah, they've got the skills and the tools and the ability to rebuild this thing. So the shock guru and owner is a guy by the name of Dave Rand, and when he rebuilt this, and I'd read this somewhere else before, that like, even though Fox doesn't build motorcycle shocks anymore, when you take apart these suspension pieces that were designed and built, you know, the 90s are now getting to be 30 years ago. but they were ahead of their time. Like they're quite amazing shocks. So again, like I've seen videos of guys opening up shocks and seeing bladders and valves and shims and all that stuff, and they know what they're looking at, and they can identify something that's quality or not. I can't, but obviously, Dave took a look at this and was really impressed with the build quality of what is essentially a 25 to 30-year-old rear shock. So that's great. The only frustrating thing is with this, and again, it's a race bike, is how tightly packaged everything is. So a few things I'm going to have to keep an eye on is I'll have to make sure that I have this this breather. It's silicone, so this breather hose oriented correctly, because I don't want it to wear on the shock as it travels up and down. It is against the cylinder head, so I got to make sure that it doesn't burn through that. Just everything. It's again, there's no wasted or extra space on a race bike. This isn't a race frame, but it's certainly been cut down to mimic a race frame, and so I'll have to watch suspension travel and that sort of thing. And I know some guys have taken this whole engine breather assembly and done something a lot different with it and that sort of thing, but there's just no room to stick it up there. Although I guess maybe I could try to jam it in there. I thought I had it set up like that last summer. Anyway, I'll have to play with this a bit just to get some more room and some more clearance. It could probably fit up there, but anyway, this is now ready to go. So for the most part, the way I see it with this bike, I think I've got it to the point where in the springtime, cross fingers, when I get it, get some fuel in the tank, and we get it running again on the rebuilt carbs, it's good to go to take it for a test drive or test ride, and then think about taking it out to the track and giving it a try there. So that's pretty exciting, and it's one of those things where I could have probably left the shock until such time as I took it for a test drive or got it rebuilt later, but I might as well get it done now when I have time. So in the end, it made me think a lot about when I first started riding bikes back in 1997, I believe it was, maybe 1998. I had a Kawasaki Ninja 500. And almost immediately I looked at modifying the bike to improve it. And one of the things is, with a little bit of work, you could fit like a 85 to 90 GSXR 750 shock to that bike. Just modifying some mounting holes or whatever. And to me, the coolest thing was that it had a remote reservoir. All the best shocks, all the best racing shocks, all the top level shocks had that remote reservoir. Well, in these last two builds I had, I could have quite frankly done without that remote reservoir, because you can see it's kind of got a convoluted routing here, and I thought about mounting this up here or out here, and it would just get in the way of my legs as I'm riding. So, and it's a very tight fit to get this here and then fit the seat over top of it. So just thought it was kind of ironic that 30 years ago when I started riding, it was all about getting a shock with a remote reservoir, because those shocks were cool. And now on these bikes I'm building now, who cares? It was they're not more hassle than they're worth, but they are a bit of hassle. So anyway, I'll put the tail fairing back on and cover them up as usual, and continue to wait until warmer weather to fire these things up and hopefully spin a few wheels in a few months' time. So anyway, thanks for watching. It's always nice when I see a new subscriber or people make comments below. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I know old nails like these aren't that popular on YouTube. People want the newest and coolest motorcycles, but for those of you who are coming back to check in regularly, I appreciate it, and as well, tell your friends, like and subscribe, and I'll be back soon with hopefully some more updates.